this is Kelly, and this is the third video in how to write a book, or how to write a book from the first idea all the way to publishing series. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. The first video was on pre-writing, the second video was on writing, and this video is all about editing. Woo! Now, the first part of this is we're going to talk about how to self-edit before you send it to an editor. There's 5 things you really need to look at through your book before you send it to somebody else. Number 1, you need to make sure the tense is the same tense all the way through your book. Some paragraphs sometimes might be present tense, some might be past. You need to make sure that they're all the same tense before you send it off. And if you don't, that's okay. Your editor can catch it, but that way they won't have as much to catch. Number 2, you need to make sure the point of view is the same all the way through your book. Did you start in first and end in third? Or you have some paragraphs in third and some in first? If it's not intentional, like some people have one chapter in first and one chapter in third, if it's not intentional, you need to go back and change it. Number 3, you need to check basic grammar and spelling. This doesn't mean you have to know all the pronoun rules. You don't have to know all the verb rules, but just basic, that's me, I'm basic grammar. Basic grammar and spelling. Number 4, you need to look for plot holes. A lot of times when you write, you know your story and you know what should happen, and it's kind of hard to pick out plot holes sometimes in your own books, but you can, and especially if you hear it back out loud. So sometimes I set my computer to read it back to me so I can kind of hear, like, oh wait, that should have happened. And if you've gone back and edited some and you've added some things in there, sometimes that will add plot holes too. So just kind of make sure that you go through and you find any kind of plot hole that you can find and fix it. Now your editor will find plot holes. That's for you, definitely. But this is just something that you can kind of try to find yourself before you send it off to your editor. Number 5, you need to think of or try to find things you want to add to your story. This is a great time to add it before you send it off to editor, before anybody else has seen it. You can add the things that you want to add to it to see if there's anything that you might have missed in your story or something, that a beat that you would like to hit or whatever. Do that. This is a great time to do it. Now, some people have critique partners. I don't have critique partners, but some people will read my books before I send it out. That's totally up to you. If you want to have a critique partner, you go for it. You can find critique partners. I think there's a lot of Facebook groups that have them. I don't know if I would ask a friend, maybe a writer friend, or you could join a writer group. I know NaNoWriMo has critique partner meetup sometimes, so that would be a good place. Beta readers, you can have beta readers. I don't know if I would have it then, and you have to be careful on how many beta readers you have, because if you have too many, then you get too many ideas and too many conflicting things, because not everybody's going to like the same thing and not everybody's going to hate the same thing. Then your book turns into this jarbled mess, and it might not even be what you had set out to do to start with. So if you want to have beta readers, I would have maybe 3 to 5, maybe, per book, and definitely don't have any more than you think your brain can handle, because that's a lot of people and a lot of opinions coming in. If you're just indecisive anyway, that can make it a lot harder. Be sure to make the book as great as you can before you send it out to an editor. Now, this is the big part. This is where things get real. This is where you kind of decide if you want to go the indie self-publishing route or if you want to go the traditional route. If you've watched Alexa Dunn's videos, and you should because she's awesome, she suggests that you don't have to have an editor before you query your book. And query is the letter that you send to an agent or a publisher about your book, and they will read it to see if they want to pick it up or sign you if they're an agent. She suggests that you don't have to have one. It's totally up to you. I have before, and I haven't before. It's totally up to you, though. If you feel like your book needs help, then by all means, get an editor before. And you want to go the traditional route, get an editor before you query. If you go indie, you definitely have to have an editor. You have to have an editor if you're self-publishing your own book. But if you're going traditional, Alexa says you don't have to have one. Some people think you do if you want that extra amount of reassurance, you can definitely have an editor for that. Editors can range in cost. I've seen editors edit for $300 to $500 a book, to $1,000 a book, $1,800 a book, $2,000 a book. Editors are not cheap, so that's why I think she was saying you don't have to have it if you're going traditionally published, because if you're going independently published, of course, you pay for everything. If you're going traditionally published, the publisher pays for everything. So it's kind of back and forth on that one, and I'll have more on independent and traditional pros and cons in a later video, which I'm not going to film today because my light is going away. So I think I've hit my limit for today. We're going to assume right now that you're either going indie or you want to go trade, but you want a little bit more reassurances that your book is where it should be to go out to agents. So how do you find a good editor? You can look at other people's recommendations, people that have published books and you know them. You can ask. The whole time that you're starting to write a book, you need to start getting into like Facebook groups or Twitter groups or whatever groups of people, so you can kind of get industry insider information, editors that people like, formatters people like, formatters people don't like, editors that have, done people wrong, things like that. And do your research on people. Don't just sign with somebody because they're cheap or they, I don't know. Just do your research on people before you hire them to do edits on your book, because edits are massive. They are a huge expense, and you don't want to be let down. It's a very expensive letdown if you're let down. You can look at websites. You can look on Facebook to find recommendations. You can look at the front of books. A lot of times, especially self-published indie books, will have who edited the book at the front of the book. And if it's a book that you like, you can message the author and be like, hey, how was your experience with this editor? You can also look up that editor's website to kind of see how, if you like them, you can talk to them. A lot of editors will do, some editors will do a sample thing for you so you can kind of see what you're getting into and see if you're a good fit, because some editors will kind of try to change your, not change, but sometimes you and an editor won't mesh, and that's fine. People don't mesh all the time. So you just kind of have to see if it's somebody that you will, get along with. Also, you need to be careful. This is especially true for indie authors. Be careful when it comes to hiring anybody for your books. Once you get a few books into it, you will have a team. And you will have people that you get to make your covers, that you get to do your edits, that you get to do your formatting. Generally, every time they will be your go-tos. But before you have a go-to, you have to be really careful on who you pick and hire to do your stuff. Are they worth the money that they're charging? Are they charging you $5,000 and their editing skills are not worth $5,000? That's something you need to know. I don't think I would pay $5,000 for edits, to be honest. I don't think I could. That's a lot of money. So be sure they're worth the money. Be sure you know what kind of edits you're looking for. There's different kinds of edits. There's developmental edits. That's when you go through and find plot holes and things like that. There's line edits where you go through grammar. There's content edits. There's proofreaders. So there's different things. You could be thinking you're hiring a developmental editor, but you're really hiring somebody that thinks they're proofreading. That's totally different. Totally different. So be sure you know what kind of editor you're getting and the kind of edits you're wanting from that editor. And a good way to do that is to have a contract signed. Some editors, of course, they're freelance, and a lot of editors will have a contract, so you know what you're both looking for, the timeline that you're expecting your edits back in. Be sure that you don't just get your editor like 3 to 5 months before your book's gonna come out. Make sure you give it more time, because if you rush edits, you can find a lot of mistakes, because that's what happens when we rush some. And a lot of editors, really, really good editors, get booked up very quickly. So make sure that you give your editor plenty of time and that you find a great editor that you know that you can trust. And if it doesn't work out with that book, then you know in the future not to hire them again for another book. Just because you use one editor for one book does not mean you have to use them on another. I'm just saying. We made it. We made it through this video on editing. Woo, we're almost finished. Next, we're going to talk about publishing. Publishing. So we're going to talk about traditional publishing. We're going to talk about independent publishing and things you need to know about both before you make a decision on which way you want to go. Please subscribe to this channel so you can see more content like this. I like this video. If it's been any way helpful, I really hope it's been helpful to you. I take it for granted sometimes that people know how to publish books, because I get 8 years. I forget I've been in it for 8 years. And back then, we had to do all the research ourselves. You don't have to ask people things. And it's really cool that you can just come on YouTube and find things that you couldn't a long time ago. So I love making videos like this. And I love when people ask me how to write a book and how to get it published, because I think more books in the world, what can go wrong with that? So I really hope you like this video. I really hope you like this series. I will see you in the next video. Different clothes on because the sun went down and we are done filming for today. Bye, guys. Hi guys, this is Kelly, and this is the third video in the how to write. No, that's not good. You need to make sure that the tense is... Alright, we made it through editing. Yay, congratulations. We are almost time to get published. Our next video is going to be traditional published or indie published. Either way is wonderful. We're going... That's not what I want to do. Please subscribe to this channel if it's anything... No,